Okay, now with the German economy stagnating and even larger companies losing market share to China and other global players, companies across the country are trying to reinvent themselves. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and is joining me from Berlin to talk about it. Good evening, Lars. What can you tell us about these companies? What can they do to stay in business?
Thanks for having me. Well, they can adapt, sometimes change what they're selling, sometimes change who they're selling to. And especially that last one we can currently see with lots of mid-sized German companies moving into the defense sector. The German Association for Security and Defense Companies has seen its corporate membership nearly double over the past year, with more than 200 companies joining the group. That's companies from all sorts of industries that all have one thing in common. They never worked in defense before, but they're trying to get into the sector. There's a very simple reason for that too. Orders are down in many other sectors. Business is slow. Many companies work way below their capacity. Meanwhile, the German government is almost doubling its defense budget, and so is the European Union. Now, looking at Germany in particular, Berlin is likely to spend 170 billion euros annually on defense in the next years. And while 80% of these funds will likely go to the big three, the tank and weapons specialists Rheinmetall and KNDS, as well as Airbus Defense, those companies are working with literally tens of thousands of smaller suppliers. And that's an interesting field for many companies.
All right, that sounds interesting. And Lars, do these companies fear any form of backlash or any other negative reaction?
Not really. Most of them, of course, have to look at their bottom line and at the jobs they're providing, and certainly don't want to cut due to economically hard times. However, sometimes the decision to go into defense is not an easy one. One CEO said that it was one thing for him to see his parts go into cars, but an entirely different thing knowing that your product will be used in weapons systems. So that particular company thought about the switch long and hard. They even ran it by their employees, and in the end they did agree that while the company's founding papers, sort of a moral code that the company gave itself decades ago, that while these papers stated that the company would never work for the military, that these papers needed to be adapted. The company, like indeed many in Germany, was founded with World War II still on everybody's mind, and many founders at the time did not want to have anything to do with defense. But today, with Russia's war in Ukraine and with US President Trump questioning the purpose of NATO, many did eventually find that the world's changed and that they too have to do their part to not wage war, but in fact help stand up for Western values and for peace, especially since it's also paying off financially.
Okay, let's hope